boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. Yes, sir. It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. Got a great show for you this evening. How do I know? Because I said so, and we always do. You know, we have very good topics that incline us to give answers and provide solutions on everyday situations, but mainly marriages and relationships. And so there was a conversation that we had on the last pod, episode 188, where Cheeky Banner talked about that the game in which we talk about relationship is over, especially for the idea of a traditional marriage and traditional women. There may be traditional men, but the women are not as traditional as they used to be. And so we want to talk about, is that a true statement? If so, how can we fix it? Or is it just truly meaning that it's over? But before we start with that, we're going to introduce the panel, and they're going to talk about what goes through your mind when picking out your outfit for the day. And if you're in the chat, you are welcome to answer that question as well. And I'll put it up on the jumbo screen, as we call it. All right. So we're going to start with none other than Hulk Hogan himself. Prototype in the building.
How was them claps?
That's good. That was really good. That was really good. You look like you in the military right now, bro. Like you.
Oh, with the green?
With the green, yeah. You just chilling?
Just chilling.
That's what's up. What you got on it?
Man, they're gonna be looking today.
What you say?
They're gonna be looking today.
What you mean they're gonna be looking?
That's what I think when I put on my.
That's what's up. That's what's up. They're gonna be looking today. That's nice.
Today, so yeah.
Like, when did you start that? Caring about how you put together your outfit.
Always.
Really?
Always. You know what I'm saying? But my outfits used to be like a white beater, some shorts, and I would go out there like they looking today. You know what I'm saying? Like I always had that. You know what I mean? That mwah. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. I appreciate you being here, homie. You got a different cup today. Like, is that what we doing? We introing cups now, bro?
Yeah, hibiscus tea all the way, baby.
That's what's up. Here we go. Welcome none other than, you know how it goes. She has a different hairstyle every stream. Miss Taken in the building. What's up, Miss Taken?
How you doing, Humble Dad?
I'm doing well.
What I do is I think about what doesn't need to be ironed and what's going to make me feel most comfortable. If it meets those two requirements, that's what I'm wearing. That's it.
Did that come with time, or has that always been?
It's come with time because I realized, so before I used to prep everything at night. So I would iron everything and, I'm going to wear this, but then I'll get up in the morning and feel different. Like, oh, what was I thinking last night? I don't even really want to wear this. So now it's just like, as long as it doesn't need ironing, I'm going to just go with it. I'm good.
That's what's up. That sounds like me a little bit. Thanks for being here. Absolutely. Waiting to hear this perspective from you. Hey, we welcome him none other than, she's been on before. She's back, and see what she got to talk about. You ready? Pick me in the building. What's up?
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm blessed.
And highly favored?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, that's what
Oh,
it is.
sure, very favored. Yeah, because
That's
I
what's
have
up.
some tough battles. But
That's what's up. What goes through your mind when picking out your outfit for today?
quite a few things. So my mood first and foremost, because how do I feel? Secondly, the weather. And then the last thing is how cute will I be in it?
Similar to prototype.
Yeah.
I don't know prototype is. Am I gonna be cute in this today? Yes.
Cute and everything.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, well, I appreciate you being here, Pygmy. On your mic is kind of going ruffling against your hair, I think. Yeah, but there you go. That's it right there.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Hey, and welcome none other than the Barry White of the airwaves, lost in translation.
Come on inside and get yourself something food.
All right, man. Yeah, we got that sorted out, man. We got that sorted out.
That's what's up. What
Yeah,
you got?
man. When I used to go to the office, man, I used to, put on a bow tie, put on a jacket, you know what I'm saying, shine the shoes up, give them something to look at, like Prototype would say. But now, when you work from home, man, it's t-shirts or whatever. I might throw on a polo or something like that, man. But outside of that, I got to be comfortable, man, especially if I'm going to be at my desk all day. So it's comfort for me most of the time.
That's what's up. I would say for me, depending on where I'm going, I'm trying to see what would look good with my wife's outfit. To be honest with you, right? Because we for some reason we like to coordinate our outfits. But if I'm going to work, I would mistake it. Like what doesn't need to be ironed, right? And how many times have I worn it? Right? So that's really what it'd be like. Because messing with these middle schoolers, man, I'm not trying to be fly for none of them for sure. All right. So that's how we started it, man. This is gonna be good. I'm interested in like what y'all gonna talk about. But we're gonna start off with a video. And those that come in, don't forget to like and share and comment on and subscribe to the channel. Let me find this real quick. So this one was I think it's pretty simple. I didn't know I had that many. Let me see.
And women today, like the modern women, they want the aesthetics of what a man is, but they actually don't want a man because they don't want to be submissive. And I know that's a word thrown out there. Women get scared of that.
Explain what you mean by submissive for those unaware.
Submissive as in respect, being the peace, the calm, always, right? So if a lion is roaring, you have to learn how to quiet. So it's just like women don't want to be submissive. Women don't want to be corrected. We're the only nation of women that say they don't need a man. And you have all these other nations. Those women aren't saying that because they know the greatness and the importance of a man being around, not just financially, but for beyond that. It's beyond finances. It's for the structure. It's for the balance.
That's what's up. So I've been having this conversation with one of my best friends about this word helper and submissiveness and things of that nature. And I think it kind of correlates with what we'll be talking about today. But what's your thoughts on, do you believe that women are having an issue with being submissive? And that is the problem that is taking place. And we'll start with mistaken. Get a woman. I want to get a woman's perspective.
I realize I'm not like many women.
You realize every woman says that mistake.
Yeah, but I think the more and more that I'm in these spaces,
Okay,
the more and more I'm starting to see that I am, and I don't know necessarily if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess it depends on the person who who receives me, right? Or
It's
not
a good thing. If you ask me, I'm not talking about anybody else, but I would say it's a good thing because you're also open to critique.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you may be well into your thought and state what you believe, but you're also open to hearing what somebody else's thought is.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so the submissive thing, um, I agree with it. I think women do have difficulty with the submission, but I think a lot of things occur in tandem, right? So I think women who have an issue with it have probably experienced or have not seen what submission looks like under a man who's also submissive to God, right? If you're religious, or a man who has a servant leadership style. So I think the pushback is not necessarily is it's the thought process of thinking that submission means is equate to slave, right? Equate to slavery, right? I just, whatever you say, whatever you do, I just shut up and take it, you know. So I think that is the perception that a lot of women have of what submission is. And on the flip side of that, I just, again, I'm just speaking from my personal opinion and what I've seen growing up. um, which may not reflect everybody, is that's also the way a lot of men think that submission is supposed to be as well. Um, Again, from my perspective and what I saw growing up with, I'm not going to say all of the men in my life, but a lot of men who were either like, I don't want to put my family business out there, I'll say pastors, um, my father for one, things like that. That the submission expectation more was the equation to equated to the slavery mindset. Just do what I say, and that's it. Like there's no discussion about it. There is no, I'm the head. God said you submit. That's it. So I think that's why women have a big issue with submission, because they don't want to feel taken advantage of. They want to feel included in the process. And I don't think a lot of people know how to distinguish or balance that.
okay. Who you got going next? Who'd you say?
Her words say lost in translation.
Yes, I did. I guess I went mute before I finished saying it.
Let's get it.
I can read lips too, man. Look at him. I think women have been given a bad rap, man. I really do. I really think so. And I'll give you an example. Back in the day, I used to play the piano. Okay. And if I hadn't played in a while, I'm a little rusty. You know what I mean? So if you put me out in front of a crowd, I'm going to be nervous. My hands going to be sweaty. I can probably figure out how to do this. It's not going to quite sound the same. I might be a little embarrassed, but if you give me time to practice on my own when nobody's watching, I can make the mistakes that I need to make without people judging me, And I think sometimes women are the same way. I think sometimes women are out of practice. And I think sometimes we make a lot of light of women saying that they don't want to be in relationships because sometimes they're out of practice. If you look at men are not out of practice. Men have always provided, men have always protected, but women are in a different domain now where they're actually providing for themselves. In some instances, they're protecting for themselves. So what they've done is they've forgotten how to be, a lady, those type of things, because they've actually set that aside. So a lot of times I think we probably need to sit back and talk to the ladies and say, hey, look, what do you need assistance with? Because a relationship is pretty much like a concert. You have a concert orchestra. You know, you got some people who play the drums, some people play the violin, some people play the cello, that type of thing. And the dance between a man and a woman is pretty much like a concert band. You know what I mean? One person plays that part. It sounds good when it's played together. But if everybody has the same instrument and they play the same part, it takes away from the relationship's richness. And sometimes we don't actually let women know that the part they play is indeed truly rich and is indeed truly needed. So I think a lot of times what most people do is they try to cover up their specialness to be the same or to prove somebody they're just as needed. And I think a lot of times women have actually looked at themselves and say, hey, look, I can be just as good as a man, or my value is just as good as his value, instead of relying on their own special richness. So I think that if we get women back into the art of being ladies, I think we can actually start bringing back the richness of our relationships that we need. And I'm going to go with Pick Meek next. See what she has to say.
My opinion, I think it's threefold. I think that we lack submission for a multitude of reasons. The removal of God from our life, I would say, has a big deal to do with it, only because if you're submitting to Christ, you typically just know how to submit in general, because you know in life you need self-control. You can't have every desire of your flesh. So that's the first one. The second one, I would say that the lack of teaching, we would have need to been taught that. So I don't think many women were taught how to be submissive, especially in my generation. Like we're doing what we were taught, how to be strong, independent, and loud. And then the last point that I would say is just the culture. We're highly affected by culture. So I think we would need to spend more time separating culture from the Bible in order to learn the true principles we should be living by. But it's just, I think we just a lack of knowledge. I think if we all became more saved, because that would be my suggestion, we would be easier to submit.
That's what's up. You got Proto. You got Proto on. It's on you, bro.
I don't think submission is the issue. I think the men are an issue, and I don't think it's an issue with God either. Being saved, I just think it's a man issue, and us understanding what our role is in this world and how women are supposed to play a part with us in this world. Um, Men are being leaders. Because here's one thing I know about women, man, is they mold to you. You know what I'm saying? I know we had this kind of debate last week, but women mold to you, and I don't care how hard she seems, how hard she comes off. There's somebody she'll be soft and a little kitten to. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not him to her, then she's not going to be submissive. But I know generally a woman will like give a man her soul. She'll sell drugs for him, do a bid for him. You know what I'm saying? That's not godlike. So he can't say, "Oh, it's only saved women." I seen women go off the grid because her man had a plan to live off grid. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not Christian. So yeah, women do get a bad rap, but they're getting a bad rap because men are abusing the power. You know what I'm saying? Like they get a guy or their first encounters with a few guys abuse the power of being a man. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a superpower of subduing women. You know what I'm saying? And if used the wrong way, then she feels the need to protect herself in whatever toxic way she can or avoidant or you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely the men who are having an issue with making women submissive to them. So I don't think being submissive is the issue for real. I just think it's the man not understanding what his true power is and being a sucker about it. So that's how I feel about it.
So you similar in the line with mistaken. Is that men kind of brutalize the actual authority that they have, and so when they have a woman in their care, they treat it as if it's a dictatorship.
No, it's not the dictatorship part of it. It's the lack of understanding of what you have. Like and I'm guilty of it, right? Of having a woman that I know will give me her complete soul, but I don't have real expectations or longevity in plans for her, and I knew it from the beginning. But I allowed this woman to give me everything that she, you know what I'm saying, her whole soul to me. You know what I'm saying, her virginity or her whatever, and she's thinking that we're going to be together. This guy's going to love me forever, and I'm thinking like, you just a pit stop. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the abusive part. So after that, that woman becomes hard, protective, and I'll never mess with a guy to do this, this, and this again. You do have those guys who abuse it in a pseudo masculine way, like you know what I'm saying. In a I want to say it's like it's normally the little guys that they fall for. You know, with the Napoleon complex. Oh, it's my way or the highway, or you know what I'm saying. That kind of deal. You know what I'm saying. Them dudes that really need their ego stroked, which is yeah, those guys is another kind of weird, but you know, there's those guys too that abuse it that way. Like, oh, I'm the king. You're gonna do what I say. But if you gotta say that, bro, you're not him. You know what I'm saying? So if you gotta threaten your woman and force your woman and beat on your woman and make her submissive, you just like that's wild to me. So I mean, I've never had to put my hands on a woman and never would suggest it, or you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But I've never really had a problem with a woman being submissive to me when I wanted her to. So it just
That's
is
what's
what
up.
it is.
Yeah, it's taken just so you know, prototypes always had that thought perspective. He's always had that perspective. I don't think we just necessarily hit the angle from that particular point, but he always says that it's on the men. But I don't think that women like why he says that though. So let's don't get it twisted. Prototype is saying that nice thing right there, which I can understand that position. But he also says that women are incapable.
Incapable of what?
Of,
Incapable of what?
he can speak for himself. Go ahead, Proto.
Of making sound decisions.
You're right, humble dad.
But I mean, I'm not saying y'all not smart. I'm just saying there's something with y'all that tends to make wrong decisions. You know what I'm saying? It tends to go for the guy with the chain instead of the guy with the future. You know what I'm saying? There's something about women who goes for the flash and not the dude that has discipline. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's easy to us for men to see, but for some reason, women can't see a guy who has morals and discipline. It's you know what I'm saying. But if a guy's flashy and got gifted gab, y'all falling for him every time.
I think it's a process though too. I
It's not a
think
process.
not
It's
to
very
say
clear
not to
to
say
us,
that you
two men.
you still don't make mistakes the older you get, but the younger you are, the more likely you do as you get older, because we hear it all the time. Oh, y'all want to mess around with these guys when y'all young, but then you get all washed up when you get this age, and now you want the good guy. So it's not that you don't recognize that there's a difference, but it's a process that I think women go through. The goal is to avoid having to go through the process. Because men as well, I think when you're young, you don't make sound decisions, like you just admitted. I know I could get a girl to submit to me, but I just did what I did. I don't think that that was a sound decision, because in reality, like you said, you're going to harden her and make it more difficult for her to move forward with somebody else. So there is, a lack of making a sound decision in that process as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think everybody goes through those stages of not making sound decisions. The thing is at what point do you stop and begin to make more sound decisions and have good outcomes? And I think that also goes into submission. I had wrote too, submission comes with trust. Trust is built with consistency, and consistency should build favorable outcomes. So as a woman, if I'm seeing that you are consistent, I'm feeling safe that I can trust that you're going to make sound decisions. It's easy to submit to somebody like that. I think a lot of times women don't trust the men that they're with all the time. And they may just have trust issues. He could be doing stuff right, right? But just their experience sometimes makes it difficult to trust them. But I think when a man is consistent with the way that he treats her to make her create a safe space, create a sounding board that's consistent with having good outcomes, and I could come, he listens to me, he gives me good advice, things like that, it's so much easier to submit to somebody like that versus I think like what you said, dealing with a lot of men who really don't understand what leadership is. So leadership and submission has to go hand in hand. So if you're not understanding what your role is as a leader, it's going to create a space where submission is going to be difficult or inconsistent.
Hey, Meek, you thinking of something? Go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just want to piggyback off of her point and then just elaborate on mine further. So,
Absolutely.
why I said we should be saved. Because like you saying making the women being hardened, one, if that's not godly, if we are all saved and we're considering how we're treating our brothers and sisters in Christ, we would always consider treating them better first. My second point being that women, the elders, Titus 2:3-5, if the women who were ahead of teaching us would have taught us how to select men based off of their character and not based off of the shiny things that make us tingle, we would be doing better. Somebody would have needed to give us a blueprint. So like,
Oh man, she
Oh
was
no, man, that's
Yeah,
cooking.
hey,
Me,
the government watching.
the government
me was
watching.
cooking.
She said something good too.
Cut the
No, the
feed.
government knew
There
she was
you
about to
go.
say so. Start talking that nonsense.
He
That's
was
what
over there
happened.
cooking.
Go ahead,
I
finish
swear
your
I
Talking
thought.
wasn't.
nonsense.
I swear I wasn't. So I remember where I was at. So like me personally, when I started dating, I was like, I know like I'm gonna go through the Bible and pick scriptures that I would want a man that I'm dating to exemplify. So one of my favorite proverbs is 6:6-11. Don't date no sluggard. You should be like an ant. You should be doing what you need to do to build. So those are the men that I look for. So like currently a man that I'm dating, like literally while we were like on a date, he was like, I just live my life being an ant. And I was like, okay, Lord. So it's just like you should know the qualities that you want to look for. And then the culture, we're just brainwashed by culture. Culture tells us that we don't need to submit to men because we can get what we want anyway. And the power of influence, because the power of influence, that's why women have been destroying the culture so far, is because we're more influential with how we are. Y'all have the power position, but we're more persuasive.
That's such a what she said. I'm gonna get you in here, Dwayne. Did you hear what she said? She said the world says, "Why be submissive? Because I can get whatever I want anyway." That's a bar, Dwayne. We talking about. Do you think that submissiveness is the reason that we're struggling with marriage and relationships? That's basically the point. We watched the video, but that's kind of like what she was saying. What's your thoughts?
Oh man, submission is the choice. Submission is the choice. So is it, as for a woman, she will be held accountable for her actions. And I think that's what goes to the wayside, right? So we blame the man, and it's like, okay, well, we're each individuals, and each of us will be, with a soul, will be held accountable. So as for submission being a choice, the man has the same choice, right? So I like how they then the responsibility is fully flipped over to the man. Like if the man is doing the right thing, that the woman will be submissive. First of all, prototype, I agree with you, and I disagree with you as well. But the reason why I agree with you is because, like you said, right? The man does have a role to play. The reason why I say I disagree with you, because you was like, if that man is him, man, it was God himself who put that garden together. He was him. All right. So because he was, and he put that garden together, he had everything all nice and neat. And the thing is, whenever the serpent came in and deceived her, she also knew the word. It's not like she didn't know the word. She knew it as well. So I think in it is like the man does have to be submissive to God, but at the end of the day, we all have free will or free choice. So as for submission, again, I'm gonna go back and say submission is a choice. Men have the choice to submit to God. It's the best choice. Women have the ability to submit to their man, which is also the best choice, because each of those you will be held accountable for.
Man, that's a phenomenal take. My thought process was like this. Women say that they don't want to submit. However, they'll have sex with a dude. That is submission. You are yielding over your leverage, your power, what it is that is you, right, to a man, whether he's your husband or not. And oftentimes, where we are now, women will submit their body to a man that is not their husband, but require him to have husband like qualities and implement them to her while he's not being while he's not being her husband. But then at the same time, she's like, I'm not gonna give you my submissiveness as it relates to you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to wear. You can't tell me what to eat. You can't tell me where to go. However, I'll sleep with you though. Like that's a contradiction of saying that you don't want to be submissive. Where in aspect it is, like I would say that that is the problem. That women are the problem in the sense of they don't know where to put their submission and when to put it where. For example, he shouldn't, like, Pygmy stated, I need to go to the scriptures and I need to look and see what are the qualities of a man and what a husband supposed to be. It doesn't really talk about having flashy things because those are very much blinding, if you will, right? But if you are a man of great character, you have vision, you have you have integrity, these things that we've talked about before. If women would look into those things, and don't get me wrong, the men have a price to pay as well, but the guy has no choice. As I'm telling my homeboy, the guy has no choice but to concede to what the woman allows to happen because she is influential. How much so? Adam ate the fruit also. That's how influential the woman is. If we go through the scriptures, I mean, you look at Samson and Delilah. Samson knew she was trying to get at him, and he still gave her the secret to how to kill him, right? Or take his strength away, right? So it's over and over again that we see it throughout not just the Bible, but through history, that women have a lot of influence. However, they don't want the consequences of saying that they have that responsibility. And I think that's where the problem lies. The submissiveness should be ahead of them giving their sex away. That's what I'm saying. Did anybody have something else to say before we move on?
Yeah, I want to say something humble there right quick. Ain't gonna take a
Go.
whole lot of time. If you ever looked at some of the women who were not obedient to the Bible, they had to sacrifice. And those women who were obedient, they were praised, just like, and a lot of times women like to see stuff before it happens. But Mary didn't know that Jesus was coming like that. She had no idea. But you know what she was? She was obedient, and and the killing part about it is, they had to come tell Joseph, hey, look, your wife about to be pregnant. So we got enough respect for you to let you know, hey, look, this is what we doing in heaven. You know what I'm saying? She's obedient, and we want to make sure it's okay with you. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, those women who weren't obedient, they had to sacrifice. So I always tell people, man, obedience is better than sacrifice all the time. And I think a lot of times with our women, they like to see stuff before it happens. And that's usually not how that works. Well, faith is the hope of substance not seen. And I think we are out of practices. Like I said earlier before, our women used to be the praying women, but now it's like they've forgotten how to do that. And I think that's the real linchpin on why our community is the way what it is, because they no longer have a relationship with God. And as Shannon Sharp would say, as Cat Williams told Shannon Sharp, I think we have women who have an unholy alliance with mediocrity.
Say it again. It has a what?
We have an unholy alliance with mediocrity. Yeah.
Interesting thought. Yeah. So that brings us to the next part, because I think if Cheeky Banter, he said that the game is over as it relates to traditional marriages, and if the submissiveness part is what's missing, then my question is a traditional marriage possible? Is a traditional marriage possible? But before we get there, let's talk about what a traditional marriage looks like, and then we'll come back to say, is it possible? So we're gonna start there. What is a traditional marriage? What is a traditional marriage? We're gonna start with the youngster over there, Dwayne. What you got? What is a traditional marriage? How would you describe it?
A traditional marriage, a man and a woman coming together, raising a family for life, through thick and thin, through sickness and health. That's it. That I'm gonna go with.
That's it. Who you got next?
Mistaken? How do you do?
How did you say how do you do?
I needed time to really process and think and go over things in my head, mull over some things.
You should know you never had that question before, Mistaken.
Yeah, because I've come to realize that tradition. I know people like to believe that tradition is something that occur generation after generation after generation, but I've come to realize that tradition changes generation after generation after generation. So that's why, like in my mind, I'm like, well, dang, what does tradition mean now? Because there are some things that just wouldn't, while we may call it tradition, it may not necessarily fit in the current generation or context that we live in, right? So we've had to forge a new tradition that fits in, this generation. So that's why I was like, I need time to think, but I guess the basis of tradition, I guess the way that I was brought up, a traditional marriage is a man and a woman. The man is the head of the home. The woman um, submits to his authority, his position in the home. And the man protects and provides for everyone in the home. And the woman nurtures everyone in a home and also provides protection for the children as well, in terms of, like, I'll say physical protection, nurturing, stuff like that, but also on the flip side with the man protecting, I guess what y'all say, his peace through like support and yeah, things like that. That's what I would say tradition from my generation in terms of what I was taught from my parents and my grandparents.
All right, that's a bet. Who you got going next?
Proto.
I would just say a man and a woman married, nuclear family, traditional marriage. I don't think it's rocket science. Everybody has different strengths. You know what I mean? Women make money now. They could barely, very easily go be the provider for a home, and the man can be a stay-at-home dad or whatnot. Um, so as long as the man and the woman is married, I think that's all that really matters. Because I've seen. No, I'm good. Let's go. Let's go and pick me.
Oh. I don't know what a traditional marriage is. I was actually gonna write down, Google what is a traditional marriage, because I would probably argue that part was pent at some point, like with the wedding rings. But I would just say like divine order, God, man, wife, children, married, everybody doing their role biblically.
Everybody doing their role
Biblically, because
biblically.
yeah, because everybody was given like tasks and principles. Like
So
the only reason why I would question tradition is because the Bible never said women didn't work. Women always had jobs. They always had stuff to do. So I don't know where they picked up women didn't work at. We always had our own gardens to keep, right?
they
So
probably came from women though.
so I
Probably
don't
came from
know.
women, man.
That's why I'm saying biblically.
Yeah.
Because God ain't tell you get to sit down. Because none of us allowed to be sluggards. We all got work to do.
But see, that's the thing too, is the considering the tradition from whose perspective, because even if you use the Bible, You had Jews and Gentiles. Gentiles traditions were different from Jewish traditions. You know what I'm saying? But yet it was still a tradition. So my thing is, a lot of times, and I think Prototype had, brought this up as well, is that sometimes the things that we do are not necessarily like religious based, right? Um, so even back in the day, you had men and women who were married who were not saved, right? Who were not in Christ. But when you look at the culture at the time of that generation, you saw men that were consistently the same in terms of the way men were supposed to be, and women were the same in the way that women were supposed to be at that in that day and age. So that's why I kind of look at that, because if I look at how my grandmother was in terms of roles and responsibilities when she was growing up, it looked different from the way my mom's roles, responsibilities from her when she grew up. And then it looks different again from when I grew up. And then when I look at my daughter, hers is definitely different than what it was. So that's why I say, like with tradition, I think it somewhat changes with each generation, because the generation itself changes. So what worked in one generation doesn't necessarily work in the newer generation.
I would disagree as it relates to working. It's a matter of the perspective of the person that's entering into the relationship. Because if you look at when I lived in India, right, they're very poor. And the man was very poor. That meant that his family was poor. And it didn't take her out of her submissive role. Uh, she was still there helping her husband nurture the children, was her role for the most part, right? Then, if you even go into the Hispanic community, uh, they do the exact same thing, where their women are more inclined to make sure that they take care of the children while the man is out working. She is working, right? But she is not making the career of trying to make it be about her career over her family, right? So that is the part of the traditionality that is not okay, where we're trying to change it to that the woman has to focus on her career over her family. The Proverbs 31 woman was working, but the primary goal was the establishment of her family being taken care of, right? And so when you have it to where the man is out of pocket by saying, you know what, I am going to relinquish my task or my duties, and I'm just going to do the bare minimum, right? She's here, so she can do whatever. I'm not saying for him to be like, okay, well, she take care of the kids and I just go to work. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the primary focus of each one of them should be the family, right? The man needs to say, this is my role as it relates to what I'm going to do for this family to get to XYZ. And he needs to say, well, this is what I see that you can do to help us get to that particular point that I'm trying to get to. But what has happened is that let's see, I want to say the mothers of the civil rights, right? When they were coming up as kids, right? They was probably like 15, 16, right? And then they were like, well, we have the freedom now to do whatever we want to. And we don't want to be like how our mothers were, where they was married and they had a husband and they had all these kids. We are going to go ahead and we're going to start having success as it relates to having a family, kind of, sort of. But that's when that feminist stuff start happening. I'm gonna have the freedom to sleep with whoever I want to. I'm gonna do my life how I want to. And so then they had kids. So this would be my generation. The parent told the daughters to go to school and don't be like me out here doing XYZ because you don't want anybody to take care of you. That is what has happened. As Meek talked about in Titus 2, there's not a lot of elder statesmen women coming back and saying, look, I did it wrong. and this is how you should be doing it, or I did it right and this is how you should do it. So the man has to have a woman that's already ready to be a wife. And the way that happens is that they are being taught by a woman. But because women are not really doing it, that means that us as men have to come alongside and be in these spaces and tell y'all that y'all out of pocket. But then what happens is the conversation is, you can't tell us nothing, man, because y'all men, y'all don't know what women go through. However, we don't have to know what you're going through because we're the one picking. Right? And so if we're saying we're coming to the store and it's like Walmart, they all out of stuff, they ain't restock what it is that we need, then how is it that we're going to shop for what it is that we got to have? So that's why I think that it's important for us to get back to the traditional marriage in the sense of making sure that the family is the focal point of where we're trying to get to. That's my thoughts. What y'all got?
You know what? That goes back to what I was saying earlier, Uncle Dad, about who was really out of practice. You know what I'm saying? But here's my whole thing, man. I think that women have to be receptive. You know, they have to be trained to be receptive. And sometimes when you don't get what you want, you start to make barriers and excuses. You like to say, well, if he's leading properly, then I'll no, you'll get left behind. Let's just be honest. You know, men are no longer waiting for women to get the okay to lead. They're just leading the women who want to be led. And the ones who sit back and say, hey, look, I'm going to wait until you get your stuff together. There's another woman that already sees that his stuff is already together, you know? And most times those women get old and bitter, you know, when they get to their 50s and 60s and have no kids, or if they do have a house full of kids, they have broken homes. And then they sit back and they get online and they start crying and say, I wish I had to prioritize my family, like that video you sent me the other day. And saying that I wish I had made family my priority instead of, you know, my job. Because the thing about it is your job will always be there. It will outlive its usefulness to you. You will outlive your usefulness to that job. And I think that is the issue. But I don't think that a lot of times people put stock in themselves the way that they should. You know, people used to say, hey, look, I work well with others. You know, I add value to the conversation. I'm knowledgeable, you know, I can actually help with this and I can help with that. And that speaks from a place of confidence, you know. But I think what happens is I don't think a lot of women are confident. Like I said earlier, they're out of practice. So they put up these barriers that say, hey, look, you know, if you lead properly, you know, if he was the right man, you know, a real woman would say, I'm the right woman for anybody. You know, I can make it shake with anybody. You know, I'm that confident in myself. You know, I can make anything happen because God has blessed me to bless whatever I put my hands on. But until women actually believe that, they will always continue to make excuses. And I think that's a sad turn of events when you have to measure your greatness against somebody else's abilities, which I think is unfortunate. You know, it's like, I'm going to be a gentleman whether a woman accepts it or not. I don't care what you think. I'm still going to be a gentleman. And I think women need to get back to the point where they say, I'm going to be a lady regardless of what you say, you know? And I think once we tap back into that power, we'll learn to work with each other and start learning how to figure things out together, learning to listen to one another, and actually start aligning on what's important. Like, how are we going to raise our kids? You know, I think parents should look at it, an opportunity every day is an opportunity to teach your kids something new in life. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you actually explore life together with your spouse, you know, experience things and say, hey, look, I would love to share this with the kids one day. What do you think? You know, well, how do you think they're going to relate to this when we get an opportunity to take them to see that? Those are the conversations that we need to have instead of, hey, I need your other half of the bills. That's cold, man. That's a cold existence. And I don't think we were actually designed to be that way. I think we were designed for greatness. I think we were designed to work together because that's how we flourish. That's the best part of us right then and there when we work together. But I think we have to get past the selfishness, man. and stop putting our agency on other people and waiting for other people to get their stuff together instead of realizing, yes, I may not be enough at this particular moment in time, but I'm working on myself today. I'm getting better every day. And I think if you have that mindset, you'll be of usefulness to someone somewhere. And you don't have to say, I'll wait till the men get their stuff together, or I'll wait until the women get their stuff together. No, I'm already together. I just want to know if you want to come with.
That's a bar. Dwayne, you thinking something? What you thinking, bro?
Oh man, he said train. And whenever
Oh
heard
yeah, you
it,
sent me something. Then you sent me something where you was the woman said, "I don't want to. I hate that
No,
word."
I was talking about training up the children, not
oh
her.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah, he
Thank
knows.
you.
I
Thank you.
am with you. I'm definitely, and I was thinking about that. Train up the child in the way of the Lord, and when they grow up, they shall not depart from it. So I think even whenever you said train, I was not thinking about it as the child's aspect because they look at it differently, right? They're just rolling with the punches from a disciplinary standpoint, right? There's a difference between inflicted discipline versus self-discipline. Now, as the woman now, as they have grown up, if they did not get that training, they take that training differently, right? I don't need no training, but they'll take it at work though, right? And they'll sign up for it at the gym. They'll get a personal trainer. But whenever it comes to that man, that's where it's like. So that's the conversation we had. Oh, what's going on over there, Prototype?
Prototype, did you have something? Did you have something you wanted to say? You wanted
Come
to
on.
say?
Women listen to men.
Man, you know what? You are Prototype. I agree with you. So
Prototype, did you not hear what Cheeky said last week?
I don't care what he said. He's a fool for it. He's a fool for what he said.
No,
I don't care. Like flat out. Like you guys are tripping. You know what I'm saying? Women listen to men. Like you ever go over a woman's house and she made you a sandwich? She made you a sandwich that she learned from another dude. Women learn from men. She's either making you her daddy sandwich or her ex-husband sandwich or her ex-boyfriend sandwich that you thought was so delicious. You know what I'm saying? When she did that little trick on you, she learned that somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? Women learn from men. Women never teach the women. It's they're only doing what they learn from the mama treating the daddy. It's because the daddy said, "Mom treat me like this," and the little girl's paying attention to how the mom treats her dad. But they're always learning from a man. That's
So,
what
It's
never the women.
Prototype.
It's never women from.
Prototype.
It's never woman to woman. It is a woman.
Prototype. I mean,
it's a man from a woman.
What do you think the school system is made up of?
That's beside the point, bro.
How?
I'm talking about in relationships.
How?
You're talking about you're even
I'm
in that.
telling you.
That's still not a valid point because most women don't got men at their house, and women are only learning how to not keep a man like their mama.
They're not keeping the men. So for the
He's
women,
saying that it's passed down. So the way that she learned to treat a man is from the way her mama had experiences with men, and so now she's imparting that on her child.
Yeah.
So
and
I try to actually understand what you're saying. Oh my God, what's
well,
going on?
Wait a minute. No.
I'm just not
Hold on.
feeling
But
this.
that's what I jumped off with, though.
feeling it.
I jumped off with training. I said, train up the child in the way of the Lord. Whose responsibility is it to train up a child?
The mother.
Both.
the dad.
It's both. It is both.
It is both because Deuteronomy says, yeah. Mm-hmm,
So if the reason why I led with that Prototype is that's important. There are so many men that are out here now that are raised by single women. I think that's what Pick Meek was saying. As for you have to be able to have that. And if you don't, there's going to be deficiencies. So whenever I say train up the child in the way of the Lord, that's one, and it hands it off to another. Typically, it's the father walking his daughter down the aisle and then giving her away. So that sandwich, it may be your daddy's sandwich, but it ain't your man's sandwich. It ain't your man's sandwich. And if it ain't your sandwich, like, I don't want it. It might be nice. It might be what you know, but let me train you on how to make my sandwich. On how to make my sandwich. So in that, what I was getting at was modern women do not like the word training. That's the word in which I keyed in on whenever lost was. That's why I was in thought over here, is as for training. So in the training, they're like, no, I'm adequate, or better, yeah, absolutely, that's the word. I'm adequate. Adequate for who? For self. But what about the other person? What about your partner? That's the thing. Whenever you find out that you're inadequate for your partner, what do you do then? Do you say, oh well, it's it, or do you learn how to make his sandwich?
Do
And
you
it's
think
difficult.
there's a difference between, because we were actually talking earlier about words, and I don't know. Words do matter, right?
All day, every day.
Right. So is there a difference between being learning and being trained and learning? Like, because I kind of think there is a difference. Like, I do think that you train a child, right? But I think as an adult, see, like, I think this is just my process that I'm working through it in my head, where training is, you don't have necessarily the ability or power, or there's such a lack of knowledge and understanding, and that you have to be trained and taught certain things. Whereas I do think when you're an adult, the process is a little different, right? So I think that that's a stage in which you're being taught and you learn. I have it in my head, but it's not coming out
Let
the
me
right
ask you.
way.
I'm gonna tell you why it's not coming out the right way,
But
Miss Sagan.
this is,
Because
wait, this is one thing that I did want to say based on what I think you were saying with tradition, or can't was remember exactly who was saying it, or no, I think it was maybe lost in translation. The tradition, like I would say before, the tradition change, right, depending on which generation. And what I think happens, especially now, is that men are stuck on the tradition, in a sense of the way things were applied in a different generation, and trying to utilize that same mindset of tradition to function the same way in a generation that doesn't have the infrastructure that it did in the previous generations where that worked. And so what I was thinking more so along the lines of, men have always, like lost in translations, protected and provided, right? But that protection and provision looked totally different back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s than it do now, because the infrastructure was totally different. Whereas you didn't have as many women in the workplace, and the women that were in the workplace had what I guess you would consider traditional jobs, right? That was just like teaching or nursing, in cleaning homes, things like that, sewing, things like that. Whereas I think now the difference is, and they never made, I'll say, for the most part, enough money where they were able to do it on their own, right? So I think the difference now is that what women need in a relationship in terms of provision and protection is going to look a little different in this generation, when women do have the ability to be like, well, I don't need you for your money. I already got that. I don't necessarily need you for that same level of protection that was functional back then, because the likelihood of me needing your physical protection is a little different now, because I can get a gun, or I can call the police, or when that physical protection is needed, 9 times out of 10, women are attacked, or when they are not with their man, right? So that physical protection is a little different. I think what has happened is that the type of protection and provision that women are yearning for from their mates fall more on the emotional, mental level, which I think men struggle more in that arena because that doesn't necessarily come naturally for them, where the physical aspects of protecting and provision does. Because provision back then was you go to work, you come home, and that was your responsibility, and you discipline the kids when the wife needed help with that.
Can I ask a
Whereas now,
question, Miss Pagan?
where
I know I'm interrupting, because we always go back to how it used to be, right? Which is necessary to go back to where we used to be. And it seems as if it always gets a very negative rap of what it used to be, right?
I didn't say that.
Not you necessarily.
Mhm.
I got you, Lost. I'm gonna go Dwayne, then I'm gonna come to you. The part that I'm saying is that I am with you when I hear you say that men may not be equipped. Like I can run with that, right? At the same time, though, if the women are not, if the man is not equipped, it's very more likely that the woman is not equipped. A man has to internally know that he has to provide for somebody. Like that's an internal instinct, okay? As well as a woman's internal instinct is to be motherly, nurturing. Those are instinctual, right? Something that is born inside of you. So what has happened is that man has been consistent in having to be a provider, right? And I'll give a shout out to man, what's his name? He's on H Metaphor show, and he said that oftentimes women believe provision is only money, and that's the problem because provision is not only money, right?
Exactly. That was the point I was getting at.
Okay, but men were also doing the provision and saying this is where we're going to go, right? Even back then, it was an 80% marriage rate before feminist civil rights movement happened. That wasn't because all the men were holding women at gunpoint to be in their house.
But the infrastructure was as such.
Right. And the infrastructure changed when women was like, okay, I don't have to be a helper to him anymore. So now I don't got to listen to him because I can literally rely on me having my own job. And if I have a kid, I'm going to be taken care of, right? The idea of what the man has said, I'm going to be a provider and protector, has not changed. The part that women think
exactly my point. It hasn't changed, and that's part of the problem, is what I'm saying.
So wouldn't that be on the women to get back into what they was doing before?
No, and the reason I'm saying that in some aspects, let me take that back. In some aspects, but what I'm saying is that because the infrastructure changed, a lot of times the rules change. Like if you have a job, like I think about my dad. He was, I guess, would be considered IT back in the day when he was working for IBM. He fixed mainframes, right? So the skill set that he developed for then, he was the bomb at what he did, right? But as technology improved and changed, that skill set that he had was no longer effective to work with the new machines and stuff that were being built. But in his mind, that process is still the same of working with mainframes. So while that works for computers, it's not going to work for the computers that we have today. He's going to have to develop a new skill set to get the same results. And so that's what I'm saying now is the environment, the infrastructure, the women, the society itself has changed. So does that mean that they're not changes that women need to make and adapt and go back to? I'm not saying that. I think virtue is one of those things that we're lacking. You know what I'm saying? So things like that, I can agree with that. What I'm saying is the part about it wasn't the expectation for a man to be emotionally involved, to be emotional with his woman, to connect emotionally in that in that day and age. It was truly about protection and provision. Let me make this money so I can take care of my family. We go to church on Sunday, and that was the routine.
Right, but
Whereas
you
now,
realize that they're mistaken. That, but what you just said was that the woman changed, and you're saying that the man stayed the same, but the woman changed. That's basically what you're
correct.
saying. And
I
so
I,
what?
I
Right.
agree with that.
And so what I'm saying is, if she changed, then she should be the reason. Like if she wants to be in a marriage, she should be the one that changes because the
Not
man.
if the change, not if the see, I think that's where
Let
we're
me
missing.
let me.
Not if the change is bad, absolutely. So,
Well,
like I said, a lack of
true.
virtue, a
That's
lack
true,
of
though.
like having skill set to be able to cook, you know, those are things, of course, that I would say a woman needs to have. But what I'm talking about is the expectation that a woman's needs are met in a marriage is totally different than what that expectation was years ago. Speak to
I,
any woman that's over the age of, I'll say 60, and ask them, and actually you can read on this. Even I will say, even give the idea of sexually. It was never the expectation for a woman back in the day for them to be pleased sexually. They were always trained to make sure that the man is taken care of
I
their
understand,
needs.
but
So what I'm
mistaken.
saying
But what
is
I'm saying,
it's the
mistaken.
same thing.
That's
Well,
not
that's
the
what I'm
part that
saying.
I'm on, though. Mistaken. That's
Okay.
not the part that I'm on. What I said to you was, and I'm gonna go to Dwayne after this. What I said
Okay.
was that the woman has got away from her nurturing. Like that is the nature of a woman is to nurture. She transitioned to wanting to be more about her work and her paycheck as opposed to being a mother to her children. That is a part that should not have ever changed. I didn't say anything about her not being working or the emotional things that women need. And I disagree. I would definitely have to research that to know, right? Okay. I'm not gonna speak to it right now, but the point that I was making is that women are not focused on being mothers. And that is a part of what is missing from this generation. There'll be a mother without the dad, though, all day. But they're not gonna try to focus on closing their legs and being a mother to their husband's kids. That's what I'm saying. That has what it's a change. Dwayne, what you got?
I'm gonna yield the floor to the Honorable Lost in translation.
Let's get it.
Thank you, because I've been taking notes, man. And I love to write down the things that Miss Taken have said because I'm about to deconstruct everything you said. And I'm gonna put it back in a way that you're not offended. Yes, I'm gonna put it back together in a way that you're not offended and that you will learn and you'll understand. Okay. First, we're gonna start out what Prototype said earlier. Okay. He said that you were fixing your husband another man's sandwich. What he meant by that is that you never asked him what he wanted. That's the nurturing part of what women should know. Back in the day, women, no matter what their husband did or what he did or what he provided, they would always ask these simple words: honey, have you eaten yet? That's nurturing. Women don't ask that anymore. They would just fix you somebody else's sandwich, just like Prototype said earlier, and say, here, eat it. And you never asked them. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing about it. Regardless of whatever the money is, or whatever the infrastructure, or whatever the job is, the woman, no matter who the husband is, will always know that her husband will need a lunch and pack his lunch without him asking, because she knows he needs sustenance while he's out there providing for the family. It's economical and it shows love. Every now and then, if you have a good wife, she'll include a note in your lunchbox with a little motivation that says, I love you and I appreciate everything that you do for the family and me. Thank you for being a wonderful husband. That's motivation. You don't get an opportunity to do that if you don't fix the lunch. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the issue. I don't also think women value men either. I think women view men as a means to an end. You know, as long as you're giving me what I need, then it's all about me, baby. Well, let me explain something to you. When you get married, it's no longer about you. It's about the unit. Men already know this. Men are unselfish by nature. They always provide, they always protect. They go out of their way to help kids, women, old people cross the street. You know what I'm saying? They put their cape on, they do whatever it is they have to do, you know, to help people out, no matter what. And they don't ask for thanks. They just do it just to be doing it. But it seems like every time women get an opportunity to put their cape on, they want everybody to stop what they're doing and say, look at me. Look how great I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm better than a man. I'm stronger than a man. Instead of reveling in being who she is and being nurturing. The problem is that people don't reward women for being nurturing anymore. It's like we talked about backstage. Sometimes when we solve a problem, we solve the problem for the praise instead of the process. And I think a lot of times women don't always get celebrated for the process. They get celebrated for the praise. That's the reason why social media have women so depressed on Instagram. When it came out, women were just like, oh, I wish my life were like this other person. And they would see it and they would get depressed. But my thing is, your beauty is not where your power lies. Your beauty is in being able to be nurturing and to support those who are around you. Women have a very valuable role when it comes to undergirding their husbands and their families. That's the main reason in Proverbs 31, when the husband praises his wife, in his heart he does safely trust, is because she's trustworthy. He also tells the kids, praise your mother. She is worthy to be praised, because he knows that's important to make sure that the woman is motivated, because women love praise. That's the reason why they do the things that they do. That's the reason why they wear makeup. That's the reason why they fix themselves up. That's the reason why they go out on brunch with their girlfriends. That's the reason why they go out on girls' trips. That's the reason why they want to make sure they get the most valuable men that they can get so they can get praised. Even when they get engaged, they want to show all their girlfriends off their ring. Girl, look at the ring my man got me. 2 carats, K's Jewelers with the light up box. We get married next June 23rd. How about that? You know what I'm saying? My man loved me enough. You know, it's about the praise. So a real man who understands that a woman's needs praise to continue on, a woman should also understand that deep down inside, even though a man may not ask for it, he still needs it. He's not going to ask you for it, because men are not built like that. Men are taught to run into fires no matter what. You see what I'm saying? They're not built for praise. But I assure you, when you do praise him, there's something extra that you get out of that man. You know what I mean? It's called a second wind. It's like, I can do a little bit more. I can work a little longer to provide for my family. That's what you get out of a man when you give him that little bit of extra. And I think it's until we get back to giving each other that little bit of extra, I think that's when we're going to start to learn how to be great again, you know? And I think a lot of times people want to make it about themselves when they get married, when it's never about you. When you get married, you die to yourself and you become greater when you become whole with your spouse. And then when you connect to God and you have instruction from him and you're both following in the same direction, you can't be defeated. You know, greater is he that is in me that is in the world. And I think sometimes we got to take our focus off of what the rest of the world does and pay attention to what God says does. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. He said, narrow is the path and straight is the gate. You see what I'm saying? That's a reason why a lot of people don't make it. It's because a lot of people are not disciplined enough to stay on that road. And I think every time we look off to the side, we always think the grass is always greener when it's not. There's safety on that path. And until we understand and we learn that obedience is better than sacrifice, we'll always have these issues where we always think that we're better than somebody else, and we're not. And I think that's the problem. I think we need to get back to being humble, that if I may, remain humble and get back to what we're doing again and understand, hey, I was built for you and you were built for me, and we were both built to serve the Lord. So can we get back to doing that and get back to being great?
That's what's up, bro. That's a mic drop for sure. Can we get back to the way things were? You know what I'm saying? Can we build together? Can we be Legos, please? You know what I'm saying? Be in unison, connecting, and things of that nature. Before we move on, I want the people to know, you know what I'm saying, where can they find you at? And then I'm gonna do this would you rather and see what y'all say. Mistaken, where can they find you?
I don't even know what's going on Fridays anymore. We haven't done our show
Wow, okay.
in a while. It's been very difficult finding consistency, and I think the host is getting tired of the BS, and I get it. Like, being in this space can be very draining, especially when you don't really feel as if people are really there to build, hear perspective. It's just like, what's the point? So when we get back on track, hopefully, it will be at She Critique on Fridays, around depending on when she decides, like between 9 and 10 maybe. Or also I just post a little bit on at IM.mistaken. I'm trying to work my way into doing what some of you guys do. I
don't understand why you won't do some simple stuff and just share with the people, with the other women.
I guess
you don't have to. Listen, you can literally record one day and just clip it up.
Okay.
And just set it out. Listen, Mistaken. You've been in education.
Mm-hmm.
You had to put lesson plans together.
Yeah.
Okay. You had to set aside time to do such a thing.
Okay.
All right. Prototype.
But that's where you can find me, or on the LaPeef Network, because sometimes I do panels with him as well.
That's a bit. Proto, where can they find you?
Man, you can find me Prototype Dad Podcast. Mondays, Humble Dad. Tuesdays, Prototype Dad Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Man, we all over the place. So tune in.
Jumping for you. TikTok jumping for you over there.
It moves. It moves. Hey, you find your audience where you can. So that's what it is.
I don't know if you ever get back to that interviewing dads on the street or not, but I was looking forward to that being a thing.
Yeah. I'll do another one for sure.
That's a bit. Lost, where you at?
And you can find me here on Humble Dads Podcast, also on Lost in Translation Podcast as well. Also, you can find me on Tuesdays, flipping tables on our Black Men Unfiltered channel on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. And also on Fridays at the barbershop at 8:30 p.m. You can also find me on TikTok as well. And also you can find me on Instagram. That's where I am. So if you're busy, get an opportunity to check out the stuff. It's pretty good, if I say so myself.
As you should, because you over there doing things for sure. Every time I put up the clips, they always come up with you at the top. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, the Lost don't want to give nobody else no shine. But so, okay, let me just go ahead and post it as it is, man. So this stuff on your behalf, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Pig Meat, what you got?
Currently on a hiatus, but you can find me at Pick Meek Podcast on YouTube and Pick_Meek on Instagram.
That's what's up. Hey, you had a really very good take today, man. Like, you came back with a vengeance. You know what I'm
Did I?
Yeah, because before you be quiet, you know what I'm saying, sit back in the cut like Neosporin, and this time you decided to be, a Band-Aid, but not in a bad way, you know what I'm saying, a good way, helping us see and see it from a woman's perspective. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And then I'm not going to give Dwayne no good greetings because Dwayne hasn't answered not a phone call, this week. Okay, Dwayne, what can they find you, bro?
Well, you can check out my GoFundMe for my phone bill. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm playing. I'm past those days.
Are you?
I ain't got no excuse, brother. I ain't got no excuse. Oh man, you can catch me on Monday nights. HD in the beautiful panel. You can also find me at DwayneJonesPhotography.com.
That's what's up. Hey, if anybody want to be a panelist, hit me up, man. At humbledad78@gmail.com, and we can talk and see what it look like. I'm going to a class this weekend to see how I can get better at being a podcaster. Shout out to the wifey. You know what I'm saying? She came up with that, and she decided to pour into me from that aspect. So shout out to Miss Kendra. She doing her thing. I was matter of fact, I'm gonna shout her out again. She did make me lunch, lost in translation. You know what I'm saying? After we did these fish tacos, she put some back for me, for you, boy, and some fruit. You did. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even have to ask. I'm just saying, hey.
Well, right. I have a quick question about that.
About what, you finna hate on it, Miss?
About lunch. Now,
okay, what about lunch, Miss?
If your husband eat up all the food,
a bowl of food.
If he eat up all the food.
Oh, if he eat up all the food. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it ain't no lunch.
Okay.
Who's responsible for getting lunch at that point?
Let me ask you this: who normally does the grocery shopping?
I do.
Okay, well, you should keep up with it a little bit better.
Double the order.
What we do is have leftovers. But if you're going back for second, thirds, and fourths,
well, if you already know he
ain't no leftovers.
If you already know
in the morning and make dinner,
how often do you check your husband? Check the food in the house? Is it once a week, once every other day? How often do you do that?
Well, I usually do big grocery shopping once a month because here we only get paid once a month as teachers, right?
Okay.
So I'll do a big grocery shop once a month. And then I have a thing on a refrigerator that when we run out of stuff to just circle it. And so then that way I'll know to go pick up like, oh, we ran out of this or we ran out of that. And so I'll just pick that up throughout, the month. But he doesn't.
Secret.
Yeah. So usually leftovers are lunch. But tonight I tried something I had made. Oh, let me tell you what I made. I made some, what kind of fish was that? With the red snapper,
right,
with Creole sauce, rice and beans, and some sauteed spinach. It was good. I liked it. And he ate all of his up and then gonna ask, well, can I have the rest of yours that's left over for lunch? I'm like, now what am I gonna eat?
Well,
what am I gonna eat? That's what I'm really trying to figure out. Do I give him my leftovers because I have my meal so I can have some lunch?
Well,
and
look at it this way.
Got a bunch of
leftovers are good. Yeah, leftovers are good, but I wouldn't recommend fish. What you want to do is you make sure you give him some citrus, some type of fruit, some type of vegetable, something that's not going to spike his glucose levels. As a woman, you should also be able to maintain the nutrition in the house. Now, I'm going to help you out. Most times you say you shop once a month, right? Well, what you can do is you can divide that up. You can use tools like a shopping list. I'll give you an example. Sometimes when I know for a fact that I'm going to need oranges at a certain time, I have my food already pre-planned and ordered with Kroger. So they know to deliver my oranges every 3 days. So I never run out of oranges. They know to deliver my apple juice every 2 days. So I never know to run out of apple juice. So basically it keeps me from trying to think about the fresh stuff that I need. And the staples, I hit that up maybe once a month: rice, flour, that type of stuff when you're doing some righteous cooking. Every now and then you throw in some seasoning or whatever. But what you do is you plan that in advance. Hook your debit card up, put your credit card up to it or whatever, and let them do the shopping for you. So that way you never run out. And you put it on your calendar and say, hey, Kroger's coming on this day. And that way you'll always have fresh food. You'll always have lunch ready to go. And everybody always have a nutritious meal. As a woman, you should already have that stuff worked out. So that's why you can't be busy all the time. You still have to do your part. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Now, mistaken. What that man right there just did to you was gave you some instructions.
Did
Okay?
He did. What was the instruction? Give me your
Oh,
lunch.
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, no. If you missed it, you missed it. But if you caught it, you caught it. And I'm going to tell you, if you listen to what that man just told you, your husband would be happy, which in turn would make you happy. That man just told you how to prepare. That man told you how to plan, and it came in instruction.
training.
Yes, ma'am. And it's not a derogatory. It is something that imparts wisdom upon you once you apply it, and then you see the return on that investment, which then equates to wisdom.
That's what's up, man. This is the last thing we was gonna talk. Well, the game over. I think that we said that it is to a degree, but it can be recalibrated. All right, that's what I gathered from tonight. And before we go, I'm gonna ask this: would you rather have everyone you know be able to read your thoughts, or for everyone you know to have access to your internet history? Would you rather have everyone you know be able to read your thoughts, or for everyone you know to have access to your internet history? On you, Prototype. We're gonna have Prototype first. See what what he gonna say.
Y'all can have access to my internet history. For sure. You might learn something. You're gonna learn a lot. Being in my head, there's some demons up there. No. But my internet history, though, hey, you can learn a lot from that for sure.
That's what's up. What you got, Mistaken?
Same thing. Internet all day. I got so many things that run through my mind that sometimes I can't even keep up with it myself. Sometimes I shock myself with some of the stuff I be thinking. So definitely internet.
Lost in translation.
It doesn't matter because my internet history is in my head, so it doesn't matter. That's what I use the internet for to gain wisdom. So whatever you find in my browser, you'll find in my head too. And probably some other stuff too.
That's what's up, Pygmy.
I would rather share my internet browser.
Enough said.
Yeah, no.
Dwayne.
You know what? Since y'all all went with the browser, man, hey, come on. You know what? I thought I could say I keep it real. Okay? I thought I did. But then I'm sitting here listening like, man, why would y'all? Yeah, y'all, that's what I would pick. No. I'm gonna keep it real. Know my thoughts. But a lot of people not gonna like me though.
That's a fact.
Keep mean poker face, but golly, that's training.
I think it would be definitely my internet history. However, my thoughts, I definitely think that people need to know what my thoughts are. I typically say them, but it has to be filtered, which is the struggle for me. It's easier for them to look at my internet history, probably. You know what I'm saying? This has been dope. This has been fun. Really appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Until next time, you know what it is. You know what it is. What is it? What is it?
Deuces.
Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.